يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I apologize for being a few minutes late. Please forgive me. Let's get right into it, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Over the past 2 days, we've been talking about addiction and how that is connected to a weakness in the ummah, specifically men, and how it affects men. We spoke yesterday also about some differences between men and women and how addiction applies to both. It is different. We talked about the role of addiction in the ummah and how weak it is due to some of the shahawat that we follow. The more we follow shahawat, the more weaker we become. And there's a direct correlation between them. Now, that doesn't mean that that's it, we give up and we just stop, that's it, I'm a weak person. No. A Muslim has to, one of the greatest jihads that he has to do is against his nafs. And when we look even at the Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're coming from Jahiliyyah, a lot of them were struggling with certain things, and we gave the example of Abu Mahjan radiallahu anh, and others, yet they were champions of Islam, and they were champions of the Ummah, and they did not allow the weakness that they had to stop them from doing the khair for the Ummah. And this is one thing that I want to highlight. When I work with brothers, there's something called sin paralysis, where shaitan is very, shaitan dhaki, he's smart. And what he does is, he will try to play with your intention. If he cannot get you to associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the intention, he will get you to sometimes stop something for the sake of the people. So it goes something like this. Let's say you're doing something and you are in the back of your mind, there's this waswasa that basically says, look at me. When you're praying, it's like almost there's this feeling that who's watching me? Or how can I make my ruku more straight? Or how can I advise someone for the deen, but maybe my intention is not clear. Shaitan is very smart. He'll try to come in there, and that's why you have to be very, very careful of your intention and how you do it and for what reason. Specifically when it comes to ibadah, da'wah, it is one of the greatest struggles for a person specifically who is doing da'wah. In front of the camera, on YouTube. And this is sadly the phenomenon of the famous sheikhs, okay? Being in front of the camera, social media, it is sad that it's become almost like a fan club for some people. And some people are aware of it, and they try to resist it and to fight it. And some people are really, they ride the wave. And may Allah help us. Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah, he used to say that مَا وَجَدْتُ عَلَيْهِ شَيْءٍ أَشَدُّ مِنْ نِيَّتِي. I didn't find anything more difficult on myself than my intention. And Sufyan al-Thawri is like a mountain of hadith. He is one of the great scholars, muhaddithin of the ummah. If he is struggling with his intention, how about masakin like us who are trying to just do small things? So it is a very, very difficult time that we are in, where it is part of human nature to feel good when someone is appreciating you. It is part of human nature to feel good when someone is saying, MashaAllah, Shaykh, wow, this and that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that shaitan loves to work with that. He will come and just say, MashaAllah alayka, it's good. Very nice. You're really good, ain't you? What is this called? From the diseases of the heart? It's called, when you're infatuated with yourself, ujub. Yes, right? You're like, somehow you feel like, oh, mashallah, yeah, it's good. So this is very dangerous, and actually all of us fall into it to an extent. This is something that we have to admit, that this is dangerous for all of us, and starting with myself. And, may Allah forgive all of us, but we have to fight. We have to fight the intention. We have to fight that. But also shaitan plays with you, and he tries to make you stop doing something. So it goes something like this. Oh, bro, maybe my intention is not right. Maybe my intention is not sincere. I should stop doing this dawah. I feel like I am a munafiq. And there's some of the names of old, you'll find in the tarikh of the ummah that some disappeared for some time, subhanAllah. Some people pulled themselves out for this reason. Again, there's a lot of discussion, but some people, they fell into almost like a crisis of intention, and you find them for 6, 7, 8 years disappearing from the history of the Islam, of ilm and so on. And may Allah help us. But this is something that you cannot, I asked some of the shaykh, they said, you can't associate and you cannot stop. So what's the solution? The solution is that you have to fight the intention. You have to continue to fight yourself and continue to do the khair. You cannot stop. You cannot. Even if you are making some mistakes or you have some sins, you cannot stop pushing for the khair. You have to keep renewing intention, keep fighting hard, keep pushing hard, and don't allow the shaitan to play with you. So we cannot stop. If these addictions, these weaknesses, don't get stuck in this sin paralysis where, oh man, if the people would know what I do. Some of the ulama used to say the sins would smell, and some people would not be able to sit around us. They would, it would be stinky. Right? We all have sins and mistakes. Kulu bani Adam khata. Every son of Adam, they make mistakes and sins, but we cannot stop. And a lot of the ummah is in this paralysis. Akhi, I'm not good. A lot of the brothers who don't come to the masjid, or they don't pray, or they don't practice, they feel like, bro, I'm not good. I heard brothers saying, it's better if I don't pray. It's better because if I pray, it's almost like I'm making a mockery out of Islam. That I'm sinning, I'm doing this, yet I am praying. Even the person who drinks alcohol, even though it is not permissible, of course. And you know that your salah is not accepted for how long? Okay. Does that mean you don't pray? You still have to pray. Because the salah has, okay, you have to do it. Whether it's accepted or not, that's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khushu and so many things, conditions. But you still have to do it. So you'll be accountable because you didn't do it. And as some of the ulama said, tarku salah, kufr yani. Right? So it's not, even there's some ikhtilaf, but man, you don't want your iman to be a ikhtilaf yani. This is very, big thing. Yeah. So don't stop. Wallahi, do not give up. Don't ever give up in your life. No matter which place you are in, no matter how difficult of a situation you are in, if you are in the lowest of the lowest, as Yunus alayhi salam was, and he turned from the duty that was upon him, but he said, La ilaha illa ant subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin. From where did he call? From the belly of the fish. Inside, darkness upon darkness. And It is a lot of us in our life will go to a deep level of darkness. But Allah, He has sent this message to extract us. لِيُخْرِجَهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. To extract us, to take us out from the darknesses, plural, jama', to the nur, singular. Only one. Only one Quran, one sunnah, one manhaj, one way. This is the way only. We are maybe not on it as we should be, but we know there's a difference when you are not on it because maybe you're mistake, you're weak, but you know where you're supposed to be. You know that this is the way. Kul hadi sabil. This is my path. Simple. This is it. We know. There's no doubt. La shak. There's no doubt for us as Muslims. We can be whatever, but the Muslim, he has to know where is the correct direction. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wallahi, you know, it's only one tawbah away. One istighfar maybe. One change. A person can literally make change just overnight. Overnight we can make a change. Don't ever give up. No matter what. I'm sure every single one of you, including myself, we have some problems, some struggles. None of us are infallible. None of us are good. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one and only who is perfect. And He, by His mercy, He has selected some of His ibad, some of His servants, to make them from those who are ma'soom. They're infallible because He protected them. And ibad Allah al-mukhlasin, those who were specifically chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect them and to give them special hidayah. As for us, we really rely upon the mercy and guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us. And we have so many mistakes, but do not give up. No matter what happens in your life, you have to, every day, when you wake up and you say, Alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amata wa ilayhi nushur. What are you saying? You had a small death and Allah gave you one more chance. He has given you life again with another chance for you to do something. Yeah, it takes sometimes one thing with a good, strong intention and with a pure heart for the sake of Allah to make a change. Look at Khalid bin Walid radiyallahu anhu. Probably one of my favorite. Because if you look at Khalid was not necessarily, even though, subhanallah, I'm talking about muqaranan, yani as-sahaba radiyallahu anhu, kibar as-sahaba. Right? We know that he took Islam a bit later, towards the end of Hijrah. And we knew that he did not busy himself so much with ilm. Later, towards the end, but Khalid, the Prophet ﷺ, when Khalid came, he literally just made him do a 180, turn the other way and go, right? And just unleash Khalid. And Khalid, we know him as Saifullah. He was a sword of Allah. We are proud of that. We are extremely, we should teach our children of this amazing character. And he is considered one of the greatest strategists and one of the greatest warriors, even by the non-Muslims. And I'm sure some of you have seen some of the recent, there's one professor who's been lecturing about Khalid bin Walid, and he's a non-Muslim. Very amazing. I think he himself is amazed by this information, because you can feel it. And may Allah guide him through Khalid and through the history of Khalid radiallahu anhu. But Khalid was, for those who study his seerah, was a very interesting person. And his shakhsiyah or personality, yes, there was adjustments, of course, his aqeedah and some of his behavior. But Khalid was like, he was a strong man. And his character was the way he was. Like he's coming from a very serious background, very difficult background. But subhanAllah, what Khalid did for this ummah. They used to say the Bani Makhzum, they did not see, the women of Bani Makhzum, they didn't see a man like Khalid, and they will never see a man like Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu. But when you look at his life, you find that Khalid was, Umar Khattab had some differences with him. He was brought back to Medina. He was put away from his leadership. But he couldn't be any tight. Khalid was Khalid. I love Khalid because when you look at Khalid, you realize that, subhanAllah, don't give up. Whatever Allah has given you as a strength, as a talent, something that you're good at, use it for the sake of Allah. And hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive your weaknesses or whatever shortcomings you have through those good deeds that you're doing for His sake. And He said, إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Indeed, good deeds, they erase bad deeds. See what you have in you. I know there's that fight in you, that voice is telling you, man, but I'm not good. Man, I have so many mistakes. Sometimes I feel ashamed to come to the masjid. Sometimes I feel sad. Don't give up. Whatever your problem is, addiction, sin, weakness, guess what? You're not alone. Most people have an issue, but do never give up. Always work and making tawbah and fighting your nafs for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first point, the first pillar in dealing with addiction, the first thing they have to do before any therapy, anything. And we spoke about the cycle of addiction. Yesterday we spoke about how it happens. We talked about what addiction is. We talked about pornography. We talked about substance abuse. Today, what is the solution? How do we fix this? Can we fix it? What if it doesn't stop? What if it keeps chasing you your whole life? Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, he has collected hadith in his musnad that there'll be something that will chase you for your whole life, till the death. There'll be some weakness, something will always be chasing you. Don't give up. The first thing to fight this, to work against addiction, against your weakness, is you have to ask Allah. You cannot do it without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا نَصْرٌ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. There's no victory. You'll never succeed. It doesn't matter how good you think you are, how much you train, how much you go to doctor. You can take 1,000 medicines. You can, whatever, talk to 1,000 specialists. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't help you, it doesn't happen. Honestly, look at our history. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with you, nothing can stand against you. Wallahi, this is from our aqeedah. We have to believe this. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, he said in this beautiful hadith about having tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, وَعَلَمْ And know, lawal ummah, the whole nation, everyone, gathered together to harm you, they cannot harm you. Illa qad kataballahu lak. Whatever Allah has written for you, like literally the Prophet said, the whole world gets together against you to do something, they can't do it. It's like you against the world, right? They cannot do it. Wallahi, we know of cases, and if Allah didn't write it for you, it's not going to happen. There's people who have tried, astaghfirullah, to commit suicide, jumped from a very high building and they didn't die, and broke a hand. And there's people who fell in their driveway and died. There's one lady came from Bangladesh, slipped in the driveway of her family in Canada, and she died just there. And from Bangladesh came to Canada to die. وَلَا تَدْرِ نَفْسٍ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتٍ. And the nafs will not know in which land it will die. That's the way it is. When we read, wallahi, when you read the Quran, ya akhi, it's like, wow. It reads you. It tells you. It's very, very ajib, ya akhi. It's like, that's why every ayah is a miracle. So, cannot do anything. Point number one, for any change, anything you want, you need Allah's help. Ask Allah to help you. Ask Allah to help you. That's the start of everything. Make the intention and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you. Put your head on the ground. Ask Allah. Take advantage of the times where dua is answered. Number one, when? Between adhan and iqamah. Last third of the night. Very important one. And Shabab, Allah comes down in a matter that befits Him. Okay, Allah has, yes, nuzul. He comes down in a matter that befits Him, and He asks. Imagine, Allah is asking and we are sleeping. That's why the ulama said, if you really want something, the test for whether you really want it or not is whether you will wake up to pray tahajjud. If you don't wake up to pray tahajjud, you don't really want something. You're not willing to sacrifice. That's why if we want our brothers and sisters in Islam, in Palestine, in Gaza, Sudan right now. I'm not sure if you guys know, Sudan is under a lot of problems as well. Let's not forget our brothers in Sudan. In your tahajjud, if you want things to change, ask Allah. In your sujood, when you're closest to Him in a matter that befits Him, ask Allah to help. Ask Allah. When the brothers pray and they do qunut, ask Allah. I was so sad. Some masajid I go and pray, and the Imam makes qunut for the people of Gaza and the Muslims around the world, which was the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. It doesn't have to be in Fajr or in Witr. The Prophet ﷺ used to make qunut when there's crisis in different salawat. And some brothers are not making qunut, man. You find them, you just sit there. Make dua for your brothers. Make dua for your brothers. Wake up for tahajjud. I call it TTT, therapy through tahajjud. You'll find a big difference in your life. Allah, it changed. You'll see it. It's a big change. This is Allah coming and asking you, what do you want? I'll give you. What else? What other times? Okay, last hour of the Friday, okay. Traveler. Rain. Okay, these are rain, yeah. When it rains. Okay, these are times where dua, inshallah, is accepted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yani ask Allah. Ask Him, and don't stop. Don't give up. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Next point. And sometimes I talk to the Imams when brothers come to them with mental health issues, which is a big problem in the Ummah right now. Mental health issues, depression, sadness, anxiety. There are so many mental health issues. People are anxious. People have panic attacks. Brothers call me, they're like, Yahi, I feel like my heart is going to jump out of my chest. I feel my heart in my throat. Yeah? I went to the Imam and he said, go see a doctor. But why? I'm not saying, and we have doctors in our team. We have a psychiatrist, PhD, all that, practicing brothers. But first step, read some ruqya, read some Quran. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاء. There's shifa in every ayah of the Quran. Read Quran. Make some ruqya. Teach people ruqya. Bismillah yarqiq. Min kulli shay yudhik. Min sharri kulli nafsin wa aynin hasin. Allah yashfik. Bismillah yarqiq. Jibreel alayhi salam read ruqya on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Read ruqya. Why you mean go take diazepam? Go take tramadol. Go take this medicine and that medicine. It makes you like a vegetable. There's so many side effects. No one tells you about the side effects. America's on antidepressants, SSRIs. Look at the pharma companies. It's one of the biggest things. Everyone's popping pills. So, have some talk on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah can give you وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَوَاشْفِ. Okay, you can take medicine. No one said that there will be no, but why first thing? Because our culture has become that. A fast culture. Drive-through, Uber Eats, I don't know what else. Everything is fast. Right away. We need a fast Band-Aid solution. No one wants to suffer a little bit. No one wants to have some sabr. Don't jump to medicine right away, Akhi. There's a lot of side effects. Read some ruqya. Read some Quran. You need shifa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe the Imam can teach you. Maybe he can read on you. Don't think, what did I say yesterday and the day before, guys? Do not exclude from the equation who? Shaitan. Don't forget about Shaitan. He has vowed that he will work. He's with his guide, yes. In the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, authentic hadith, he said, the shaitan, he flows, he basically is in the bloodstream of the son of Adam, kamajri dam. It flows like blood. You know what's funny? You know what's interesting? Yani the blood is so important. All the hormones and the signals and the brain-blood barrier, everything is linked to your system, to your blood. Shaitan, how? What? He's part of the unseen. Don't try to understand. Don't try to understand, but this and that. Ya akhi, Allah said it. That's how it is. But it's very... He could have said, the Prophet ﷺ could have said, he's in your chest or in your whatever, in the blood, like blood. Don't forget that shaitan, yes. Can shaitan be responsible for depression? I believe so. Yes. Can shaitan be responsible for this and that? I believe so. Yes. Don't think the shaitan just sitting there with some sticks and stones, 2 horns or something like that. That's not how it is. He has an army. He has progeny. We need to understand. This is also part of our aqidah. To understand these elements of how shaitan works. And who is he? What is this jinn? What does it mean? What's his purpose? We need to understand. Because if not, you'll forget. You'll forget and you'll go for medicine and this and that. And he is enjoying. He's having a field day with you, and you don't even know how to stop and how to fight him back, even though Allah told you how to fight him back and how to deal with him. So do not forget of shaitan. Why do we say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim? Why do we seek refuge in Allah? Why before we enter the bathroom? Why there's these sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ? Why? How many people forget before we enter in the house? How many people forget when leaving the house? How many people forget before? Yani Bismillah, Kul biyaminik, or Kul mimma yalik. How many forget just basic sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ? How many people drinking with the left and the right, eating with the left? SubhanAllah. And they're, in one hand, whatever. Yahi, man akala bishimali, akala shaitan ma. Or kama qala alayhi salatu. Whoever eats with his left, shaitan will eat with him. What does this mean? Does it mean the shaitan is taking a bite? Yahi, Allah has told you something through the Prophet ﷺ, don't do it. Shaitan can have now more power over you. The waswasa that he does will have more effect on you. You have to fight it. One of the teachers, he said that him and his friend, they were studying in Saudi. He said that they went to rent a place. And as soon as they entered, they're trying to see the place and whatnot. And subhanAllah, as soon as they entered, the person who was with him got attacked by an entity. And it was really bad. And the sheikh had to recite and had to intervene. And you're not supposed to communicate, but basically, the entity, the jinn, couldn't attack the sheikh. And they spoke after, him and the brother. And he said, SubhanAllah, how come he didn't do anything to you? What's different? And he said, did you do your adhkar? Did you do your adhkar? Do you do your adhkar on a regular basis? Because I do my adhkar, man. And he said, SubhanAllah. He said, I don't do my adhkar. How many of us do our adhkar morning and evening on a regular basis? Regular. I'm talking about, this is something that we do it almost every day. A lot of us don't. A lot of us don't. And then we wonder, and how come we're depressed, we're sad, we're sick, we're addicted, we're this and that? And don't wonder. We have, it's our fault. So these are, before we go into any therapies and any other things, we need to follow these therapies from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And if the Prophet ﷺ said, I didn't leave anything unaddressed, I didn't forget, I didn't leave anything on the side that will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I didn't forget anything. I didn't leave anything. We need to believe. We are living in a time where we are relying upon other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, of course, we can move on to the next things. It is very important, very, very important to have people that you can talk to. The Prophet ﷺ was very approachable. And I keep telling to the communities, every community has to have a few people that are trained and know in the prophetic way of giving nasiha and advice. That the person who comes and asks, they will not feel like they are being pushed aside or dismissed or this or that. And that's how the Prophet ﷺ was. When people came to him, that doesn't mean that خلاص halal is haram now and it's okay, no worries, ما مشكلة يعني عادي يعني توكل على الله. No. But the way he dealt with situations, you find it. And you find it in the way he dealt with the Bedouin who came and urinated in the masjid. Very famous, we all know that. We know how he understood the human psychology. When you find in many hadith, and sometimes he would deal with a person this way, and sometimes this way. He would know, he would assess the person and adapt himself. He wouldn't compromise the deen, but he would adapt himself in speaking to that person in a way that he can understand. He doesn't feel like, he's bad or whatever. To the point that some Sahaba used to say, when the Prophet ﷺ used to talk to us, it felt like there's no one else. He just, he loves you the most. You're the one. Right? Turn his way to him, look him in the eye. Sometimes we talk to people sideways. Like this, it's not good. So, have people, okay, this is what we call CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. You change people's mindset. You help them to understand what they're dealing with. It will indeed, in turn, it will change their behavior. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. These labels doesn't matter. If you look at the concept, cognitive behavior therapy, the Prophet ﷺ changed their cognition, their thought process. They went from bearing their daughters and believing in idols, believing in all kinds of weird things, Allah, Al-Uzza, and so on, to believing in Allah. And indeed, in turn, it changed their behavior. Their cognition, their cognitive process changed, and therefore, their behavior changed. And they became the champions of the world, of the ummah, and Allah blessed this world through them. And Allah said, radiyallahu anhum wa radwan. That's cognitive behavior therapy, CBT. Basic. All right, so again, number one, ask Allah, put your trust in Allah. Number two, ruqya, okay, Quran. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاء. There's shifa in the Quran, every ayah. Have nasiha, someone who really has the prophetic way of advising. Tahajjud, as we said. And cognitive behavior therapy. You just need someone to get you on the right way, following the correct things of the sunnah. And then later on we have our doctors and our brothers who are knowledgeable in the deen as well as, and they fear Allah. They're not just going to give you drugs and intoxicate you, but don't make it as your first step. There's always hope with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last thing is I say, barakallahu feekum, please, if you take anything from me today, remember, don't give up. No matter what happens, how low you are, never give up. Allah is just one tawbah away. Do not give up. Barakallahu feekum. The brothers asked me at 6:15 to finish. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our mistakes. If anything good came from this, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that is a mistake is from myself or shaitan. Barakallahu feekum. Wa jazakumullah khair. Assalamu